Hey guys, welcome to week 10 of online learning. This week we're going to be talking about evaluating functions. So I'm going to walk you through some of the notes and then go through some other problems on a piece of scrap paper with you guys. So first way you're going to see the evaluating functions is when you're given an equation, what x is equal to, and you're solving for y. So when you're given what x is equal to in the equation, all you have to do is plug in this x value into your equation to then go on and solve for y. So that means anywhere that you see an x in your equation, you're going to plug in whatever number x is equal to. So this case, it's 2. So anywhere that I see an x, I'm going to plug in 2, which means right here next to the 3. And then you just go through and solve. So that's the case for all of these. And we're going to go on to our next type. So the next type you're going to see, it's different because it's not going to have y equals. It's going to have f of x equals, or g of x equals, or z of x equals, or anything like that. So in this case, you're not going to be given x equals 2, x equals 4, or x equals a number. Instead, you're going to see that x value in those parentheses, like this one where we have find f of 1. That 1 is your x value. So in your equation, you go in and replace every x that you see with that number value. And that's true for all of these, including the g of x. So g of x is this equation given up here, g of x equals x cubed, and they're asking for g of 3/4. So you would just go in and plug in 3/4 for every x value that you see, and then solve. So those are the first two types, where you're given the equation and you plug in the x value, or you're given f of x and g of x and you plug in the value in the parentheses. So this is another type of example that you're going to see with the functions when you're given the parentheses. So this one is asking you to evaluate g of 3 minus f of 1, given that g of x is 3x and f of x equals x squared plus 3. So here, the first thing we need to do is find what is g of 3 and what is f of 1, because we don't know what those values are yet. So let's start with g of 3. All I do is I go in and I replace every x that I see with the number 3. So I have g of 3 equals 3 times 3. Because remember, when I have a coefficient in front of a variable, that means it's multiplication. So g of 3 is going to equal 9, because 3 times 3 is 9. And then let's go on and find f of 1. So I replace all of my x's with 1's. F of 1 equals 1 squared plus 3. Nothing else in my equation changes, just where that x value was. And then I go on and solve. 1 squared is 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. So now that I know what g of 3 and f of 1 are, I can plug them in to solve that equation. So g of 3 is 9. F of 1 is 4, so 9 minus 4, and that's going to equal 5. So up here, g of 3 minus f of 1 is going to equal 5. Now that, it's not always going to be subtraction. You might see some problems that have an addition sign in between there, a multiplication sign, a division sign. All you do is you solve for those numbers, and then you plug it into equation down here like this. If this was an addition, I would have had an addition sign in between, a multiplication, and then you just solve. All right, let's flip it over and look at our last type. So this is different than all of the other ones, because in this case, we're given our y value and we're solving for our x value. So instead of plugging in the x value in this case, we're instead going to plug in y. And that's the only thing we change in our equation again. So for our equation, our y is going to change. It's going to equal 12 because we're given that y equals 12. And then everything else is going to stay the same. Now I'm trying to find x, so I have to solve this equation. I need to get 2 of x by itself. So the first thing I need to do is subtract 6 from both sides. Those cancel out. I'm left with 6 equals, and then I bring down my 2x. Now 2 is being multiplied to x, so to get rid of it, I need to divide. 6 divided by 2 is going to give me 3, and I still have my x left over. So in this case, x equals 3. So again, all I did was I substituted in y and solved instead of solving for y in this equation. We were solving for x. All right, that's it for this week. So our secret word this week is actually going to be Miss Gill's. I'm sorry, not Miss Gill's. Miss Gill's was last week. That was Luna. This week, it is Miss Forte's puppies. So these are her two little babies right here. Here are their names, Gizzy and Enkidu. I spelled them here just so you guys know how to spell them. And what I'm going to have you do is you can just pick whichever one that you want to plug in for the secret word this week. All right. If you have a question, leave us a comment on Google Classroom. Bye, guys.